This is the Fave 5 podcast, episode 13. And
Wow.
today, my guest is Don Alice, who I met in 2012 on the Cayamo music cruise. And we'll talk a bit about that. But Don, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Dan. It's great to be here, and it's been a while since we've seen each other.
He's also my former roommate on two of the Cayamo cruises and has stayed with us in Florida. So we had a good background both here in Michigan, and then for some reason Don decided to move away. And we don't see him as much now that he's in Minnesota, but I'm sure we will run into each other at some point in the future.
Absolutely.
So that initial meeting on Camo was interesting. I was on, and the first day, I think they asked you to wear a shirt from your local community to showcase
Hmm.
where you're from, and then you can run into other people serendipitously who may be from the same place. And that's in fact what happened. I was wearing a shirt from Art's Tavern in Glen Arbor, Michigan. And that's a place we love to go to every summer when our family vacations. And I was walking along the deck, and a woman stopped me and said, Michigan? And I said, yes. She said, where are you from? I said, well, I'm from Northville. And she said, oh, well, I'm from Ann Arbor, but these two people on either side of me are from Northville. And anyway,
Oh,
that was the woman, Cheryl, who introduced us to you. And
yes.
then it turned out I knew the two people from Northville, Steve and Beth Ott, were people that I actually had met before. But anyway, that was the way that the shirt led us to the Michigan connection, which led us to meeting you.
Nice.
And I think
Nice.
you all had a Battle Creek connection. Is that right?
Well, yes, Steve and I were both raised and went to high school in Battle Creek, and we became good friends and members of a barbershop quartet when we were in high school.
So, with that as the starting point, let's get started talking a little bit about your background. So, when and where were you born?
Sure. I was born in Detroit, Michigan, and my uncle delivered me. My uncle Russell Alice, Dr. Russell Alice, delivered me in on November 4th. Excuse me, November 5th, 1954. I had the ignominious pleasure of sharing a birthday with voting day in 2024, and that happens occasionally. Uh, and my parents had four children prior to me. Three of them survived. One died in infancy of sudden infant death syndrome. But my three older sisters and I comprised, with my parents, a family of six, then moved from Detroit, where they had started their family, to Battle Creek. And I moved there when I was days old.
And what's your ancestry?
Great question, because we were just studying it yesterday. My sister just ran through another a genetics check, and it is broadly speaking Northern European. Uh, it is Germanic, Northern Germany, Scotland, Ireland, England. Um, no French to speak of, no Spain, Italy, but mostly, and 10% Scandinavian, both Sweden and Norway. Now, my theory on this is that I am the produce of Vikings. Uh, that Sweden and Norway contingent, as you know, they pretty much spread throughout Northern Europe over the course of 1,000 years. And I'm pretty sure I'm the produce of a Viking raid somewhere in northern Germany. That's how closely I pinpointed it.
So then it's appropriate that you live in Minnesota, the home of the Vikings.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Though I meant to start this podcast wearing a particular hat, and I did not.
Oh, okay. What might it be for a Detroit team?
I am a lion living in Vikingsville, or I am a tiger living in Twinsville, whichever you'd like. And fortunately, our teams are competitive again, so that makes it actually enjoyable to live in enemy territory.
So you were born in Detroit. You moved soon thereafter to Battle Creek. Where else have you lived?
I lived for the first 8 years of my life in Battle Creek, and then my business and my relationship with Cheryl caused me to move to Ann Arbor. And I lived there for the next 7 years until the relationship between Cheryl and I ended. And from that point, which was 2019, I made the decision to join my children. And the reason I moved to the Twin Cities is that both my daughters are here, along with their families. And it was a natural thing for me to move to the Twin Cities and be near them. And that's been a wonderful thing ever since.
So can you compare and contrast for me the three places you've lived, Battle Creek, Ann Arbor, and Minnesota?
Boy, I sure can. Um, I would first of all describe Battle Creek as dull and uninteresting. I'm not pulling any punches. It's a pretty boring town. We were just talking about it in the Dull Men's Club Facebook page, how dull Battle Creek, Michigan is. But when we were there, we had great neighbors, and we sent our kids to great schools. The public schools in Battle Creek at that time were excellent, and I think still are. But in any case, it is otherwise pretty stultifying. And so when I was able to, and pretty much lost all my roots in Battle Creek, and I should say at this point that I divorced in 2008. So at that point, I was relatively mobile. However, stayed in our home until 2012, and then moved to Ann Arbor.
And so what was Ann Arbor like compared to Battle Creek?
Thank you for leading the witness. Ann Arbor was a whole new world. I'd visited there only seldom, and because I was a Spartan and I was less interested in Ann Arbor than I might otherwise be. However, as soon as I moved there, I found it to be a fascinating and vibrant town, easy to get around, except for all the college pedestrians who wear earbuds in their ears and walk on the crosswalks against the lights. Other than that, great music town. I immediately joined the Ann Arbor School of Music and became a board member there, and also began, as you know, holding house concerts in the first the living room and then in a renovated basement of our house there in Ann Arbor. And we held about a dozen of those over the 6 or 7 years that I lived there. And that was a source of great pride and joy to me, as it is to you, I know. Just a labor of love.
And you also were a member of the ARC.
Was a member of the ARC and, of course, volunteered there as often as I could, which probably wasn't often enough. But boy, what a wonderful place to see spectacular music up close and personal. And that's very important to me when I watch music. If I didn't say it now, I'd say it later. I suffer from ADHD, and I should say I experience ADHD because it's not always a suffering thing. There's some benefit to it. You can walk away from a conversation as though it never happened, and people will stand there saying, "But I was just talking to you." That actually happened to me once, but because I have ADHD, I need to see my music up close. When I'm in the back of a theater, I lose interest, and it becomes muzak to me rather than music.
So what was it like when you showed up in Minnesota and what it's been like since then?
Yeah, so moving here in July of 2019, I moved into an apartment in what's called the Lower Town section of St. Paul. And lovely apartment, big one-bedroom apartment on the fifth floor, and it overlooked a gorgeous city park called Mears Park. And the day I was moving in, they were having a music festival there. So what's not to love about this situation? And over the course of that summer, they continued to have music in the park, and it was a beautiful place for me to go and spend time when I didn't want to be inside the apartment and didn't have anything else to do. And that made it a special place. And in the midst of all that, I happened to begin a relationship with a music buddy named Kathy. And that relationship exists to this day, but we're more than music buddies at this point. COVID hits. Kathy and I are separated by about 30 miles and a state border and a whole lot of restrictions on our travel and where we're supposed to go. So she and I don't exactly lose touch, but we don't talk much over the course of that basic year of confinement from March of 2020, which is when Kathy and I saw our last show, which was with Hayes Carl and Allison Moorer at the Dakota, and here in town, and everything shut down the next day. And so our relationship sort of went dormant, on hold for a while. And in the meantime, I was looking for somewhere else to live because where I lived had become absolutely dead. The park was visited only by the homeless over that course of time, and the police were having real issues keeping the homeless out of the park. Many businesses closed around the Lower Town area over the course of that time. I was donating to local restaurants that also happened to sponsor live music there to try to keep them and so were a lot of other people to try to keep them open. It's pretty sad. I decided I wanted to become a suburban guy again, which is how I lived in Battle Creek for all of my life. So I lived to the nearest suburb to St. Paul, which is Roseville, just north of the border, and that's where I've been since 2020 for a little over 5 years. And the contrast in terms of communities, if I thought I lived in a music town in Ann Arbor, I really live in a music town now. We can literally see live music that we like 7 nights a week if we worked at it, but we don't see that much. Again, 3 nights a week is not unusual. We will, and I guess I should finish that section by saying that I've started a house concert series up again, though not really in my own home because it's not big enough. There is, however, a place just up the street, less than a mile away, called Showtime Studio and Coffee. And I put on my first show there in September. I've since inspired the owner to put on his own shows there, and he is having Pat Donahue from Prairie Home Companion, along with Richard Crine, who's the mandolin player from the Prairie Home Band, and they'll be performing up there in the next week or two, and we just put in our reservations. So that's extremely exciting. I'm walking distance from a place where I can go to on Saturday mornings and jam. They have bluegrass jams, they have blues jams, they have Cajun jams. They support local performers who put on free concerts there throughout the weekend. If you sense the excitement in my voice, that's because it's a really cool thing that's going on, and I'm part of it because I want to be, and very exciting.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you mentioned your family before, but tell us a little bit more about them. Who was in your family when you were growing up?
Sure. When I was a kid,
Yes.
I had 3 older sisters, Leslie, Cindy, and Betsy, and and we were spaced fairly evenly by about 3 years. So I am 70 years old. We'll turn 71 in just a couple of weeks. But if you count that, then it's likely my sisters are 73, 76, and 79, give or take a year. And that's how I keep track of them. And I am extremely lucky at my age to have my 3 older sisters all alive and well and feisty as hell. They're all doing great. The family was my dad was able to buy us a big house in the city in Battle Creek, and so we were lucky to all have our own bedrooms, and we grew up in the heart of the residential city of Battle Creek, about 3 blocks from downtown, in an area of 100-year-old homes at the time. Excuse me, they weren't 100 years old at the time. It just occurs to me I got to do the deer, because our house that we lived in there was built in 1890. So really, in the 60s, it was only 70 years old. It's still standing, still occupied, still appreciating in value. So uh, we, along with a lot of people in Battle Creek, moved out of Battle Creek proper in the 1960s, and it was the white flight phenomenon. The place to go at that time was Lakeview, which was south of Battle Creek. That was the suburban area. And so we moved when I was in junior high. My sisters at that time had moved out of the house. And uh, so they would come home to our Lakeview home, but only I really lived there for the next 6 years or so until I finished college.
And what did your parents do?
Um, my mom was a housewife for most of her young married life until I turned about 10. And then she went back to school. She had acquired a bachelor's in home economics at MSU, at Michigan State University, back in 1944, 45. And so she went back to get her master's in social work. And that's what she did over the course of 2 to 3 years. First became a substitute home ec teacher, and then moved into the social work role and worked as a school social worker for Battle Creek schools for the next 25 years, roughly, from age 40 to age 65, somewhere in that. I would say she did that for about 25 years. And then she opened up an educational toys and games store in downtown Battle Creek called the Learning Link. And I hope that my pride in my mom is showing through in that she chose to become an entrepreneur and made this business work for about 10 years and was really the only source of that kind of thing in Battle Creek. And is remembered well in town for that and some other great things that she did. My dad was a certified public accountant, and about the time I was born, he went from working for other companies to working for himself and became a CPA with his shingle in Battle Creek, Michigan, and did form partnerships off and on over the course of the years, but for the most part, he worked for himself. As he began to mature and think about retirement, he then brought two other partners in who could carry on the business after he took off. And that was my dad's life. He was an accountant, and it was an interesting. I think it probably gave me a better window into business as a kid than I otherwise would have gotten if my dad was working at a general office somewhere or in a plant. I really got a better understanding of business, though. Gosh, I was not a numbers guy and not a math guy by any means. But he did that all of his life and chose not to retire until he was 71. Yeah, semi-retired between the ages of 70 and 72. And then sadly, life caught up with him a little too early, and he was suffering from COPD after a lifetime of smoking, and suffered a series of small strokes, and then ultimately a larger stroke took his life in 1995. 1995. And a short retirement, and that's the only sadness in my heart for my dad. I wish he'd been able to enjoy a life of leisure a little longer than he was able to. But yeah, that's their story. Great folks. I think of them daily.
When you were in school, what did you like to do?
Well, elementary school, it was all about running around in the fields and playing on the playground and being in Indian Guides and Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts. And if one thing I think defines my kid years, it was bikes and scouts. I wish I had put an odometer on my bike when I started riding it. because it had to be thousands of miles by the time it was no longer cool to ride a bike. I rode my bike a whole lot, and that sort of paid off in later life. We'll talk about that. Uh, and Really enjoyed my time as a Boy Scout. Had we not moved south, I think I would have continued on with the program and worked toward becoming an Eagle Scout. But did not. Went to as I was in junior high, we moved into Lakeview, and scouting faded into the background for me. When it came to junior high and high school, I think I would admit that I struggled through 5 years of growing into a man, beginning with eighth grade, probably seventh grade, and continuing on through my junior year in high school. Those were difficult times for me. Not too many friends. My grades were always fine, okay? Fine, like B's or B pluses and an A occasionally, but they were just fine. And that wasn't what I was capable of. And the words wasted potential on my report cards was repetitive. However, for whatever reason, as I came into my junior year and then to my senior year of high school, I think I realized I needed to become a human being. I don't know how else to describe it, but it was evident to me that, and fortunately, I had a lot of good role models in my life at the time. And I think it was intentional of me to start hanging with the people that, frankly, I was proud to hang with. The best students in our high school, the best people in our high school. And that's how I ended up with Steve Ott, who is, I don't think I've ever told him that, but he's one of the finest people I know. And I decided these are the kind of people I need to hang with if I want to be like them. And I won't ever profess to be like Steve Ott, but I learned from those folks. And there were others, and I correspond with them still today, and I still learn from them today. So I started hanging with the right people. I joined a barbershop quartet, and everything was fine after that.
So what do you want to be when you grew up?
Oh gosh, I thought about that when I read your list of questions, and I thought to myself, well, they're the typical fireman and cowboy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I really didn't think seriously about it until I started having to make a decision. And I know you've asked about college years, so let me transition into that.
Okay.
For 2 years, I went to Alma College. Why? Because my mom went there, and I knew I could get in. And so I applied. It was the only school to which I applied. And thank goodness I got in. And I stumbled badly. I was not ready for college, not even a small college where they're known to take better care of their students than I might have gotten somewhere else. So I came home, and after the first term with a 1.13 grade point average. And I went back in the second term, and I was told I had a visit at the dean's office. This is back when they had a dean of men. Perhaps they still do, I don't know. But the dean told me that I needed to grow up. That was essentially the conversation. And the dean was right. And after 2 years at Alma, I made the decision to leave while achieving the dean's list at the end of the second year. So that was a significant change in my life. I realized that you really do have to work for something that you want. At that point, I transferred from Alma to Michigan State University, where I rejoined Steve Ott in the same dorm, in the same on the same floor, and I don't think I was ready for apartment life at that time either. I was still really immature, but I'd figured out the school thing. I had to take this one step at a time. Living in dorms as a senior is sort of odd, but I had a best friend who was the RA on that floor, so why not do it? Um, and so spent the last 2 years there, but not before I had to make a decision because they wouldn't let me in until I told them what I wanted to do. I was a junior. And so I thought to myself, throughout my academic career, I've always excelled in writing. And I took advanced writing courses and I took creative writing courses. And even when I wasn't writing on something I was really good at, like biology, the papers I would write would knock the teachers out. And so I figured, okay, well, let's focus on that. What can I do? And I thought to myself, well, I could be an advertising copywriter. And because I had a work ethic problem, I thought to myself, gosh, they only have to write like a paragraph or two at a time and then go off to lunch in their martinis. And so I chose advertising as a career. And lucky for me, it worked out. The field that I chose for all the stupidest reasons in the world turned out to be the field that I uh, existed in and succeeded in for the next 40 years. And pretty happy with all of that.
So what was your first full-time job?
In advertising in Battle Creek, Michigan, which, as you know, is just a hotbed of marketing. Um, in Battle Creek, Michigan, there was a little agency called Hilltop, and I knew of it because my dad had done some business with them. They weren't his client, but he knew the owner, and so I figured, well, why not? So I just started pestering the hell out of him. And I had interviewed at several other places, but nothing was happening. And these were not good years for employment. It was 1976, and stagflation was at it, and unemployment was not great. Uh, but after I pestered these folks enough, they let me in, and I started doing advertising stuff, which at the time was everything that no one else wanted to do because I was sort of the gopher. But I ended up doing some of the things that I thought I was good at, along with a lot of the things that I didn't want anything to do with. Um, Again, my work ethic was poor, but I was at least doing something that I had been trained to do and wanted to do. So I worked at that for about 11 months and then I got fired. Best thing that ever happened to me. And It propelled me then from that general advertising business, which in our business marketing would be called the agency side. I then went to the client side and started working for a company called Aeroquip in Jackson, Michigan. And that was my first job at which I realized again that I really had to work hard to achieve something. And I think it was at that point where I realized, okay, I see those people in those hard-walled offices, and here I am over on the side in my cubicle, and I think I could be one of those hard-walled office people if I start behaving like them. Okay, so again, I took my examples from the best practices that were in front of me to try to be like them, and that worked out.
So what are some highlights of your career after that?
Um, the first highlight is all the wonderful people that I had the pleasure of working with and supervising over the years. I was a mentor to many of them, and many of them have gone on to vice presidencies of marketing and other leadership positions in their future organizations. Many of them still work at the company I came to work for ultimately, which was Eaton Corporation, and spent the last 28 years of my career there. Um, During that time, what I'm particularly proud of is that we turned the function from a bunch of slide sorters and golf ball keepers to a professional and integrated marketing communications organization. That's the kind of organization I walked into. was the kind of organization that was quickly going away and being replaced by professional marketing, something that didn't come easily to Eaton Corporation at the time. But over the course of time, I and a number of other practitioners in the company dragged Eaton kicking and screaming into a modern age, in using the tools that were available to us to make us better, to make us look better, to make us sell better. It was and I was able to apply my favorite thing, which was writing, to that job in prodigious amounts, and it was that was a great creative outlet for me, as well as being a great work outlet for me. In terms of, awards and recognitions, in 1994, it was very cool that one of my favorite advertisements that we created for one of our products won the Scotty Sawyer Award for the best business-to-business marketing ad of that year. Big deal. But it was a big deal at the time, and a lot of people took notice, and that was exciting and fun. Then, of course, I've always said that if you do the same thing long enough and do it fairly well and don't piss anybody off, they'll give you an award for it. And so, about 4 years before I retired, I received a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Truck Writers in North America. And that's seldom given to client-side people like me. It's typically given to journalists in the industry. But I've been working with the journalists in the trucking industry for the past 40 years and knew many of them personally, was best friends with a few of them, and they turned around and decided to give me an award for that. So I've got a heavy piece of glass down in the basement somewhere that says Lifetime Achievement Award on it, and that's wonderful. But again, what I think of first and foremost when I think about my job is all the wonderful and crazy people and that I worked with and had a chance to interact with, and I miss that a lot. That was great fun, to interact with other great humans like that.
Last question for the first section, which is, what's a hobby or interest that you enjoy?
I have a few. Um, let's start at the top, I guess. Music. The music has saved my life on more than one occasion, and recently as well. Music brought me together with Kathy Wirt, and gave me all the reasons I need to be here and be alive and enjoy life. Because very honestly, it was a struggle, and not entirely related to COVID. There were a lot of things to be working through over the course of that time. Many, many life changes for me. And I was attempting to deal with that with some therapy and some alcohol. And the therapy was great. The alcohol wasn't so great. And I had begun drinking to an obsessive level, and I refused to call myself an alcoholic. I now, for all the right reasons, do believe that I am an alcoholic, and I stopped, and I have never started again. And that was about 14 months ago. I'm not big with dates, but I think it was either August 15 or August 17. I argue with Kathy as to when it was, but it's not important. I
Yeah.
quit. And I'm better for it. I'm better for it.
Well,
And hopefully I'll remember things better for it as well.
well, it's good that you've joined me in the Teetotalers Society.
Yes, yes. It's well, and quite honestly, it seems to be a social trend. My kids are not drinking very much anymore. My spouse is not drinking anymore. I know a lot of people our age who are backing way down for all the right reasons, but primarily for health. I want as much time with my grandkids as I possibly can. Would you like to hear about my grandkids?
Sure.
Okay. So, my daughters, we'll start with them, Meg and Stephanie, and they are 44 and 41 years old, and they're wonderful people. They are they are both moms and um, uh, vital workers in the workforce here in the Twin Cities. Um, Both of them have had fascinating career lines. Being a guy who worked at his last company for 28 years, I was struggling to understand why my daughter kept switching jobs every 2 years. Well, it's sort of worked out because she's now like at a global director's level and doing as well as I did when I was 55. So I can't complain. Um, and Meg is a freelance graphic designer and enjoying that very much. And if you're flying through Minneapolis someday, Stan, I'll tell you where to see the installation that she put in for dinosaurs. You can learn all about dinosaurs from her.
All right. So how about the grandchildren?
Grandkids, I've got three of them. Meg, the older of the two daughters, has Eloise, who is now 6 years old, is in kindergarten and a wonderful little human. The other two kids, my first grandchild was Mabel, and that's Stephanie's daughter, and she is 8 now, 8 and in third grade. And Everett, who was named after my middle name, Donald Everett Alice, his name is Everett, is attending first grade, I think. I'm pretty sure of those.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll check with them next
Okay.
time we're together.
So besides music, you have some other interests, right?
Yeah, yeah. We do enjoy camping. We bought a glamper last year. We upgraded from a very nice travel trailer to a nicer travel trailer so that we can be as comfortable as possible. Now, Kathy claims that's just for me. I'm the one who needs all the comfort, and she's probably right. But so we've been putting lots of miles on camping, and again, combining camping with music wherever we can. So we've been to some pretty spectacular places in the last year as well. We did a national park run, beginning in the Dakotas and then carrying on through Wyoming and Montana and Grand Tetons, Yellowstone, Glacier. And we're going to be doing some more of that soon. I think we'll probably be heading out to Utah spring or fall sometime in the next year or two. And we're cruising. We still cruise on Cayamo. This will be number 3 for Kathy and number 15 for me, 14 for me. And looking forward to that. We also went ahead and booked on the Big Easy cruise. So we'll be cruising out of Fort Lauderdale and enjoying a whole lot of New Orleans music on that cruise, which is Kathy's wheelhouse. She's a NOLA girl.
And you like to fish as well, correct?
Fishing. I struggle to become a fisherman. I'm always struggling. I just spent a whole lot of money fly fishing up north at a class and caught this many fish. So I struggle to be a good fisherman. I think it's good for me. It tests my patience, which my patience needs to be tested always. So yeah, I still try it, and occasionally I catch a fish, and I enjoy it.
Well, let's turn now to the Fave Five questions. We're going to talk about books, food, music, sports, and humor. What do you
Okay.
like to read?
Because of some recent vision issues, the last 5 years I've been struggling a little bit with my left eye, and reading isn't as comfortable for me as it used to be. So I don't read long passages well. What I do is audible books, and I have a fairly constant stream of those. I've got 3 or 4 open right now, what I've been listening to most of all is a very long biography of Theodore Roosevelt. There's still 30 hours left in that one. Uh, what else? I have I, for the last 5 years or so, I've concentrated a lot on musical biographies. I love them. I love to get into the heads of the people who have been entertaining me for all of my life, and so I've really enjoyed reading about the Black Crowes, about Tom Petty, about John Prine, anything I can get my hands on regarding artists that I've loved. It just I don't know. It's as a music geek, and I'm definitely a geek about this stuff, as you are, and as Kathy is. I just can't get enough of that. I am fascinated by the details of that, and I swallow it up whenever I can.
Do you have a favorite author?
Stephen King. Stephen King has been my favorite author for 40 years, and I still, for 50 years, and I still love reading him. I think he still brings an amazing youth and passion to his work. And for all I know, he's got helpers nowadays, like so many aging authors do, but I'm still enjoying his product.
Oh, good. Switching to food, what do you like to eat?
Everything. There's not much I don't love. If you Somebody asked the question the other day, what do you what do you love today that you couldn't get enough of when you couldn't get enough of it or when you couldn't get it? And I just said steak and ice cream. And those are two of my favorite things. I love a great steak, although I'm no longer capable of eating a 24-ounce porterhouse. I'll take about a quarter of that. And I love my ice cream. And since I've stopped drinking, I love ice cream even more.
Do you have a
Uh,
favorite cut of steak?
Now, my favorite cut of steak is it probably has to be a ribeye. Although they can vary in quality, the ribeye is typically the best for me. I also love huevos rancheros. I make my own called huevos rancheros Donaldo, um, and baby back ribs. I go nuts for baby back ribs, and it's been a while since I had some. I've become a meat smoker, and I've got a pork shoulder and some pork belly that I need to throw into the smoking cabinet sometime this week.
And what flavor of ice cream is your favorite?
I do admit a softness for Stephen Colbert's favorite Ben and Jerry flavor, which is what's it called? The Colbert. Oh, all I can think of is Fallon's flavor, which is Tonight Dough or something like that. What's it called? I don't know.
All
Stephen
right,
Colbert's ice cream.
I
It's great.
got it. Okay. So if I were to come up and visit you in the Twin Cities and you were going to go out to a meal, where would you take me?
Oh, good question. Sadly, there are a couple of places that are closing down that have excellent reputations. One called Young Joni, which was getting, I think, Beard Awards and everything, and it's suddenly closed. Another place that we loved is closed. This is not good news, is it? However, let me take you to Frankie's for their beef sandwich, hot dip beef sandwich. You'll love it. It's a wonderful beef sandwich.
Sounds good.
Knowing
All right.
you, Frankie's is the place
Yeah.
you need to go.
All right. Now, I know you're not that interested in music, but if you have to struggle to tell us some of your favorites in the field of music, songs, musicians, albums, concerts, whatever.
I always feel bad for the guys I leave out when I go through this list. But I'll tell you that long term, just trying to focus on the people that are still making music today. Jason Isbell and the 400 Unit are a huge personal favorite for me. In all of his iterations over the years, he still sings personally to me, and I just respect him greatly as a poet and an artist. Um, who else comes to mind? People who aren't playing any longer, Steely Dan, lifelong Steely Dan fan. I guess Steely Dan is still playing, but they're only one guy anymore. Um, Lifelong Beatles fan. Not so much the Rolling Stones, but I still love the Stones when I'm in a party mood. Um, uh, I am I have huge gaps in my musical knowledge that I continue to fill. And isn't it wonderful to discover old artists that you never knew anything about, and suddenly you reconnect with them and their music sounds brand new to you. I do that weekly with people that I'd never heard of before that suddenly I know and love.
So, from all the years of being on Cayamo, other than Jason Isbell, who's been on a bunch, anyone else that jumps out as a favorite that you've seen on Cayamo?
Yeah, Tommy Emmanuel. He's a longtime favorite of mine, even before he hopped on the boat and then started showing up on the boat. I followed him around one year like a lost puppy, just swallowing up everything he played. And I told him that at the end of the cruise. And he's a small guy, and I'm a big guy. And he came right up to it, just grabbed me in a big bear hug. And nothing has felt better to me as a music geek than having that happen to me that year. And he's back on next spring, so looking
Oh,
forward to seeing him
that's
again.
great. I just saw him last night here in Royal Oak, Michigan.
I know you did. I know you did. I saw that.
And what was the first record that you bought?
My first record was Ted Nugent and the Amboy Dukes, Journey to the Center of the Mind, followed by Wayne Fontana and the Mindbenders, The Game of Love.
And what was the last concert you attended?
What's the last concert we attended, Kathy?
Oh, God.
Come on, you got to help me with
Okay,
this.
as far as concert?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on, let me look.
Well, the last show.
Show, any kind of show.
Oh, okay, I got that. Railroad Earth. We were treated to 2 nights of the iconic jam band Railroad Earth, and they played all our favorite songs. It was great.
All right, sports. What sports do you enjoy watching?
Well, I have rekindled my love for NFL football, basically because of a longtime fantasy football participation that really forces me to keep track of football a little more than I otherwise would if I want to make the right moves and that kind of thing. So I do follow the NFL fairly carefully and just bought into the red zone. I've lost the love for basketball. Don't watch it much anymore. Don't watch much hockey. I'm still a lifetime baseball fan, and I'll never stop watching baseball. However, having my Tigers being competitive again is extremely important to me, and I'm so happy that they're a winning ball club.
Did you watch their 15 inning game, game
I
five?
watched every moment of that on my laptop in a camper, hoping not to lose signal. It was
I was over in Paris at the time, and it was a sad day following that. But it's like, couldn't you just get one hit at some point and drive it around and put it?
right. You were in Paris that day? You didn't wind
Yeah.
up with any hot jewels, did you?
Well, I was at the Louvre just before that, but
Casing the joint, no
casing the
doubt.
joint. But I deny any involvement.
Wonderful.
All right. Do you have a favorite athlete?
Ah, one because he's close to us. Derek Jeter, just an amazing athlete. He was always on a team I hated, which tempered my love for him. But boy, what a human, what an athlete, really spectacular guy. One of those few people who's never had a hint of scandal around him. And as a professional athlete, that's hard to
Yeah.
achieve.
Were you aware of him when he was in Kalamazoo?
Oh yeah. In fact, I had the chance to buy some autographed merchandise from him when he was still a senior in high school. And he'd already committed to the Yankees.
Yeah.
And I it was too expensive then.
How about a favorite sports memory?
There's a couple, but my favorite is the '68 World Series. I was 13 years old, and I was in my basement room watching it on a 19-inch black and white TV that I'd rolled into my bedroom. I don't know that there was anybody at home. And at the end of the game, I jumped up in the air, and I'd forgotten that I was right under a air return duct that made the room only about 7 feet tall right there. And I just about knocked myself out jumping for joy when the Tigers won the '68 World Series.
All right. Comedy is our last of the five topics. Do you have a
Oh,
favorite comedian?
oh golly. Well, I'm among other things, I think I'm a comedic writer, and I think I have a pretty good sense of comedy and timing, and I watch a lot of comedy, have all my life. If I was to choose, this is going to be off the top of my head, but if I were to choose a favorite comic today, oh, you might have to edit this. I'm going to have to think about this for a second. If I was to choose a favorite comic today, it might be. Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert has entertained me for so long, and of course he's not a comedian, but we all know what he is, and his ability to bring me joy and make me smile and laugh is probably eclipsed any other comic in the last 20 years. So I'll give him those props.
Okay. What about a comedy film or TV show?
Oh, so many. Let me give props to one movie in my life has made me laugh out loud through the entire movie, and that's What's Up, Doc with Ryan O'Neal and Barbara Streisand,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is one of the funniest action comedy films you'll ever see. But aside from that, best comedy film has got to be uh, Ghostbusters, because Bill Murray's in it.
Um, how about a TV show? Any favorite?
Comedic TV shows?
Yeah, sitcom.
I don't watch much sitcom anymore.
Okay.
And Kathy and I were just discussing that we might have aged out of Saturday Night Live by now.
Yeah.
Uh,
What, did you ever watch Curb or Seinfeld?
oh yeah, watched a lot of both. I still have to finish Curb. It's just
Oh,
I lead a busy senior's life, and I haven't seen the last couple of seasons.
all right. Well, I recommend that you finish that out
I
then.
will do that.
All right. Who's the best at making you laugh?
You mean a comedian?
It can be a comedian, it can be a friend, it can be a family member, it can be a grandchild. It's anybody that can make you
That's
laugh.
a fascinating question. I'll make it somewhat poignant. The
Okay.
person who used to make me laugh the loudest was a good friend of mine named Randy Willison, who is no longer himself because he tried to drink himself to death about 3 years ago. And he's now a walking, talking vegetable. And that's one of the reasons that I stopped drinking. He used to make me laugh like nobody else could. Uh, and sorry to make it poignant, but sometimes life is poignant.
Yeah. No, that's right. And who are you able to crack up?
Oh, I don't know. Kathy's probably tired of my jokes, but I can make her laugh still.
Okay.
I love making my daughters and my grandkids laugh. Oh God, that's my greatest joy. Yeah,
Yeah.
anytime I can tease them into a laugh, that's great.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So it's time for a story. Have you picked one out to share with us?
Um, yeah, sure. I wanted to talk about mentoring, and I already touched on it a little bit, but the while I was working and I was smoking at the time, I was outside because the rules said you need to go outside to smoke. And a fellow employee walked up beside me and lit up, and I barely knew him. He was a young man in his 20s, and he was an engineering intern. And he started complaining to me about his job, and this is really not what he wanted to do. He went to school for it, but yada yada yada. What I really do is want to be a photographer. And I said, then what are you doing here? I said, quit. If you're not having fun, quit. And I've given that advice to so many people as a coworker and as a boss. If you're not having fun, you need to find something else to do because it will hurt you. And he quit and he became a professional photographer. And I forgot about the conversation and I didn't know what had become of him. And for my 60th birthday, my girlfriend decided to send to all of my email contacts a letter telling to talk to them about me. So this guy happened to be in my email contacts. And he came out in a letter bound up in a 60th anniversary volume that said, I'll never forget the words you told me that allowed me to turn my life around and become a successful fashion photographer in New York City. Thank you ever so much. And I'm going, who is this guy? And what did I say to him? And finally, I'm asking people, who is this guy? Don't you remember this intern? And so you be careful what kind of advice you give to anybody because they just might take it and make something out of themselves. I had a boss. He's still with us. His name is Mike Debiak. And when I was about 23 years old, he told me, "You're the best writer I've ever known." And I think about what he told me every year. Every year I reflect on my career and what I've accomplished. That one compliment kept me going for 40 years. And I'll never forget it, and I'll never forget him for it. And I've told him that. It's about mentorship. It's about being an example to someone you see can succeed, and then following the examples of the people you see succeed in the right ways, and doing that.
How did you get to be a good writer?
You write a lot. You talk a lot. I'm a talker. You write a lot. You talk a lot. I have always written in a conversational style. Lots of ellipses and double dashes. You just write a lot, and I don't know how much I've written, but I started in junior high, and I haven't stopped yet. I don't write as much as I should. However, my kids gave me a Storyworth subscription last year, and I've been making fairly regular entries, except I got to pick it up again. Writing my life story, and much of what I told you today comes from some of the things that I've written about in those essays. So having a lot of fun doing that, and thinking about two things: writing more constantly for practice and for joy, and finding a place to sing again. Because I have not sung with a group in ages, and I want to do that again. I did it from the time I was 5 until I joined a rock and roll cover band when I was 55, and I haven't done it in several years since COVID, and I want to start doing that again.
Yeah, I recall you playing with a band at the Kalamazoo Marathon. Do you remember that?
Yes,
My son was
absolutely.
running in that, and then
Yeah,
you were there performing at the end.
that was the Road Ranger band. That was perhaps the pinnacle of our career arc right there.
Nothing bigger than playing the Kalamazoo Marathon.
That's right.
Well, I want to conclude with a story of my own. We actually, Don and I, traveled together to Italy and had a wonderful vacation there with extended stays and a number of the cities you'd want to visit on a Italian vacation. We had some memorable times, some memorable meals. But what I remember about Venice is you and I wandering around trying to figure out our way around without necessarily having really good navigation or maps. And I remember you trying to get your phone to tell us, and we would kind of approximate where we were. We did our best. And we didn't get lost, but at various times we'd say, "Now, have we been in this square before? Looks kind of familiar."
And I'm sure my ADHD and anxiety was getting to me at that point because I have to be in control all the time, you know.
But I also remember, I think it was also around then that we were taking a walk with our group. We had a group of people traveling together, and I was right behind you, and you were walking along with a young woman who was in our party. And at some point in the conversation, which I overheard, she brings up the use of an ethnic slur. And I was sort of startled by it, but it didn't seem to phase you. You immediately called her on it, right?
Yeah.
You didn't just kind of let it go or try to pretend you didn't hear it. It's like no, you looked at her with this look like what, and admonished her. And I really admired that for a reaction that some people might have had trouble. Like, what am I going to do? I'm offended by this, but I don't know if I can confront the person who said it. But not for you. You were right on top of that. So
Yeah.
I was
Oh, well,
impressed.
good. One in a row. I got that one right, I guess.
So, Don, if anything you'd like to say as we wrap up our chat today.
Um, let's talk about aging a little bit. Aging is interesting. It's brought out a few things in me, um, including anxiety. Uh, One of the things I look to as I move into my 70s is what's the next thing I have in my body that's going to fail on me? Because for some bizarre reason, I've torn at least 5 tendons in my body over the last 5 years, and I'm still moving around fine. But at some point, my backup systems are going to fail on me. So I'm dealing with that, and that's aside from the anxiety issues. I think age and life change brings on a level of anxiety that you need to learn how to deal with. And it's not like when you were 40, and it's not like when you were 50 or when you were 60. The things that make you anxious change over the course of time. And I think we all deal with that. And I'm dealing with it the best I can with therapy and with understanding kids and spouses. I think we all get through it. Aging is interesting, and I try to look on it as much as I can as a disinterested third party, and just try to watch how people deal with age. And the only advice I can give everybody, and you know this, is keep moving. Just keep moving. Even when you don't feel like moving, keep moving.
Good advice. I try to follow that myself, take my daily walk, and
Yep.
sometimes you don't necessarily feel like it, but
You're better than I in that regard.
do it anyway.
Yep.
Well, Don, it's been a pleasure talking with you today and being your friend over these years. And sorry that you're farther away than you used to be, but I'm sure we'll find a way to meet up again, either in Michigan or in Minnesota.
That's exactly what I was thinking about this morning. Love you, man. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Okay, take care, Don.
Yep. Bye bye.